After 8 hours of driving to my sister's wedding, I found my seat replaced with reserved. My stepmother whispered, "Maybe she can eat in the kitchen with staff." They wanted me humiliated. They got something else entirely. The orchestra hadn't even begun when I heard my stepmother's voice slice through the elegant chatter. "Look what the cat dragged in. I told Marcus she wouldn't have the decency to stay away." Her perfectly manicured fingers gestured dismissively toward me as I stood frozen in the marble foyer. 8 grueling hours on rain-slicked highways, my savings account emptied for this designer dress, and there it was, my nameplate gone, replaced by a cold reserved sign. My father nodded approvingly at his new wife. Sarah always did have terrible timing. Maybe the kitchen staff needs help serving. Their laughter echoed off the crystal chandeliers like breaking glass. I felt the familiar sting, the same humiliation that had driven me from family dinners, birthday celebrations, and Christmas mornings for 3 years. But this time something was different. This time I was ready. There was a time when Sarah, my younger sister, was my closest ally. We'd practiced wedding dances in our childhood bedroom, promising to be each other's maid of honor someday. She'd comfort me when our father remarried, whispering that blood was thicker than water. But money apparently was thicker than blood. When Dad's new wife arrived with her trust fund and social connections, Sarah's loyalty shifted like sand in the wind. The transformation was gradual but devastating. Cancelled lunch dates became the norm. Text messages went unanswered. Family photos were quietly edited, my presents airbrushed from their perfect narrative. The final blow came last Easter when I arrived to find the locks changed and a note explaining they'd moved the celebration to a more intimate venue. The venue was their backyard. The intimate guest list included everyone except me. That night, as I sat alone in my apartment with takeout Chinese food, I made a decision. They wanted to erase me. I show them what erasure really looked like. But revenge isn't a fire that burns hot and fast. It's ice, methodical and patient, crystallizing over months of careful planning. My first call went to Amanda, my college roommate who now worked in high-end event planning. "I need a favor," I said, "and I need it to be invisible." Within days, I had the contact information for every vendor involved in Sarah's wedding. The caterer, the florist, the photographer, the string quartet. All of them received generous payments to upgrade their services, with one small condition buried in the fine print. The venue manager, Mrs. Chen, was surprisingly cooperative when I explained my situation. "Family drama," she sighed knowingly. "We see it all the time. Don't worry, dear. We'll handle everything professionally." The contract amendment was simple. Any attempt to remove or humiliate Rebecca Chen's guest would result in immediate service termination and forfeiture of all deposits. Standing in that reception hall, watching my stepmother's smug satisfaction, I almost felt pity for them. They had no idea what was coming. I straightened my shoulders, walked past the reserved table, and approached the head table where Sarah sat in her flowing white gown, looking radiant and completely unaware. "Congratulations, little sister," I said warmly, placing an elegantly wrapped gift beside her champagne flute. Inside was a vintage silver locket, our grandmother's, engraved with our childhood photo and a simple message: "Sisters forever, no matter what." Sarah's eyes filled with tears as she recognized it. For a moment, I saw the little girl who used to braid my hair. "Rebecca, you shouldn't be," my father started, rising from his seat. "Excuse me." Mrs. Chen appeared beside us with practiced professionalism. "Could the parents of the bride please step outside to discuss some urgent contract details?" Her smile was polite but firm. "There seems to be some confusion about the guest arrangements." The confusion was beautifully orchestrated chaos. As the adults shuffled out, whispers rippled through the reception hall. I remained seated, calmly sipping my wine, watching through the floor-to-ceiling windows as my father's face turned increasingly red during his heated discussion with Mrs. Chen and 2 security officers. "What did you do?" Sarah whispered, her hand gripping mine across the table. "I made sure no one could hurt me again," I replied softly. "And I made sure you'd remember who really loves you." When the doors opened 20 minutes later, only Mrs. Chen returned. "Ladies and gentlemen," she announced to the hushed crowd, "due to contractual violations regarding guest treatment, we've had to revoke certain attendees' access to tonight's celebration. The evening will continue as planned for all remaining guests." Sarah stared at me in shock. "They're gone. They chose to make me feel unwelcome," I said, squeezing her hand. "So I made them actually unwelcome. The difference is, I did it legally." The reception continued with an electric undercurrent of whispered speculation. Distant relatives approached me with curiosity and newfound respect. Great-Aunt Martha, who'd always been the family rebel, raised her champagne glass in a knowing toast. "Sometimes," she said loudly enough for nearby tables to hear, "the black sheep is just a wolf in disguise." As the evening wound down, I found Sarah alone on the terrace, still clutching our grandmother's locket. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. "I was weak. I chose their money over your love, and I've regretted it every day since." "I know," I replied, watching the city lights twinkle below us. "But you can choose differently now. You're married, independent. You don't need their approval anymore." I left before the cake cutting, slipping away into the night like Cinderella in reverse. In my car, I finally allowed myself to feel the weight of what I'd accomplished. They tried to make me invisible, to erase me from my own family story. Instead, I'd authored the final chapter myself. 3 weeks later, Sarah called. "Dad and Helen are furious," she said, "but they're also scared. They know you outplayed them completely. And Rebecca, thank you. I forgot what it felt like to have someone fight for me. Some victories aren't about winning. They're about reclaiming your worth." As I drove home that night, I realized I wasn't angry anymore. I was finally completely free.